It's week 39 of the golfing calendar. And thanks to the team at Ping, here's the former world number 16 and the only bloke in the world to ever beat Tiger Woods twice in match play, Nick O'Hearn, and 15-year tour pro, Mark Allen. This is the biggest Australian golf podcast. Talk birdie to me.
Your emotions had to be on such a roller coaster today. Can you put into words exactly what today's been like for you as the captain?
I mean, could we have stated any better for Carlota? In Spain, she plays with so much heart. I walked down the 16 with her and I said, is this how you wanted it? It's all yours. And I couldn't be more proud. I mean, for Carlota, it's for the match to bring it home. Unbelievable. I thought we were half a point short, half an hour before Carlota kind of finished 15, and I had to kind of regroup myself, start counting again, and yeah, of course, it comes down to one match. I think it's just meant to be. It came down to Carlota.
So that's the voice of Susan Pedersen, the winning captain from the European team as they hang on to the Solheim Cup. Nick, good to see you.
Great to see you, Mark. What I tell you what,
it's good, isn't it?
What a finish! I love team golf.
Team golf's the best. It's the best.
And we also had a bit of live golf going on as well, another team golf event.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I tell you
well.
what, it was all about the Solheim Cup because that shot that Carlota Ciganda, the Spaniard, hit on 16 and 17, but that iron shot into 17, she's staring it down, hits it to 3 feet. And that basically retains the cup for Europe.
Just incredible. And just knowing that was the case. I mean, we just heard from the captain, Susan Pedersen, and she was doing her maths, and about an hour before she thought they were going to be half a game short and the US were going to take this trophy back with them. And then the miracle of miracle happens. You know, what was it? It looked like about an 8 iron to 2.5 feet. That changes absolutely everything. And, you know, after the first lot of matches, it was 4-zip to the Americans. I mean, they got off to the worst possible start.
Blew them out the water. And I was shocked because I didn't see any of it on Saturday night. And all of a sudden, it's back to level pegging with just the singles to play. Yeah, they slowly pegged them back. That afternoon session on the Friday, they needed to make a statement, the Europeans, because if they even halve it or go down 3-1 in the afternoon, it's almost ball game over.
Yeah.
And they were able to win that afternoon sessions, which was the 4 balls, where all 4 players played. The foursomes is a tough format. That's alternate shot. I've played a lot of that in President's Cups, and it's a hard format because you so often you're saying sorry. It's very hard not to say sorry to your partner when you don't hit a good shot.
There's got to be a deal on the first tee, I reckon. We're not saying sorry today. Whenever you play club foursomes or anything, that's your deal.
Yeah.
We're not saying sorry, just play golf.
Yeah, but the way the week panned out, it was 4-0 to the US, then it was 5-3 after Friday because the Europeans came back into it. The morning session on the Saturday was split 2-all.
Yep.
So then it's 7-5 to US going into the afternoon, and then the Europeans came charging, and they won 3 out of the 4, and it's 8-8 going into the singles, and we were set up for an absolute beauty.
Yeah. After, I want to talk to you about Lexi and the way she answered the question at the press conference when, you know, she shanked the chip, and we know that she's got some chipping horrors. I mean, she really does. I don't know what she's going to do. Well, maybe she can do what Victor Hovland's doing. I'll talk to you about what Victor Hovland's doing a little bit later as well.
Okay.
Maybe she'll go backhanded like Peter Senior and a few others.
Maybe.
But when Lexi had that trouble chipping, I thought to myself, maybe you put Lexi out first in the singles.
I was the same. Yep.
Put her out first. When I saw the team sheet, she was last. So what goes to my head, okay? What happens if Lexi needs to hit a simple chip and a putt to win the lot?
On 18 off a tight lie.
What happens then?
It's all over.
It's not fair on her.
No.
So I thought, gee, I was really shocked that America put her out last.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. In the end, she won. What'd she win? 2-1.
She did.
Just tied up anyway. It was all done at that stage.
She played beautifully, by the way. She played really well. And even after that chip shot, you know, basically it was a cold shank is what happened.
It was as big as shank. Let's be real. That's the biggest shanked chip I've ever seen in my life. It didn't go off on a 45-degree angle. It was sharper than that. I'm going to say it went off at a 70-degree angle because the people who were standing next to her, it went behind them. It wasn't the shank that went in front of them, Nick. It went behind them. The shank was so strong. You couldn't have shanked it better.
So this was on the Friday afternoon, and
And just before that, we're on the par 5 18. She hit 2 beautiful shots just into the slight upslope of the bunker. It is an awkward lie. There was a lot of the Bermuda grass behind the ball.
That's right.
It was one of those smelly lies.
Yeah,
We
that's
know
right.
it was a tough lie, but just before that, Leona Maguire hits an exquisite chip. It's this little floater, spins, checks,
Gorgeous.
just melts into the cup for a birdie. It was an amazing shot. So Lexi has to get up and down to basically stay, I think it was...
Well, they have a lead going in to the singles the next day.
Correct, something like that, yeah. And she does what she does. And, I mean... We can talk about it now if you like. So if you watch her
Let's
chip,
talk about it.
If you watch her chip normally, and she hit some chips earlier, her practice swings are beautiful. You know, lovely rotation. The head stays nice and level. The hips are turning through the ball. The club's doing the work. But when she gets over the ball, I think she takes a little too long over the ball. That's first and foremost because you can see her thinking about it. But it's the knee dip and then the head goes backwards. It's the old, I want to get this ball in the air trick. And to do that off that lie that she had, it was always going to be a hosel rocket.
That's right. And when you try and, like, off a tight lie, you're just going to bring in the drop kick. You're going to drop kick it off a tight lie. But in the hairy lie, so there's a lot of grass around the ball, you bring in the, I'm going to catch way too much grass now when your head goes back and your knees dip. But what was interesting and what happened not long after in the social media world was backlash, because at the press conference afterwards, the American team was standing up there and a reporter asked the question of Lexi, can you talk us through the chip?
It's a reasonable question.
Dan, it's a very reasonable question. You could have laughed it off, you know.
I thought it was exactly what needed to happen. All as the interviewer said was, look, you know, we obviously saw what happened there on 18. Can you just talk us a little bit through the lie, what you had? Things like very reasonable question, and she just...
I'm not going to talk about that chip.
It was
words to the effect of, I'm not talking about that chip.
And the interviewer kind of went, oh, excuse me?
Yeah.
Really? You're not going to talk about that? And then she said, well, you know, it was a lie that was just impossible. Just impossible. Trust me, 99% of the pros out there were going, yeah, I mean, I'm going to get it on the green at least, and I'll probably maybe get it up and down. Some of them be thinking of holding the shot.
Just have to get it inside 8 feet and you're a chance.
Yeah.
You know, an 8-footer, you can hold 8-footers. That's no big deal. She's a good putter.
And then the captain, Stacey Lewis, in the background goes, that was a terrible question. And they got that on the mic, which is not I mean, she's defending a player, I get that, but it showed
It wasn't a terrible question.
No, it was exactly what was required.
Okay, and Lexi, could you talk about the third shot at 18? There was some question on what you were trying to do and what you actually did do on the third shot. Could you just go through it for us?
I don't need to comment on that.
Excuse me?
I don't need to comment on the chip. It was a bad lie, and I didn't hit a good chip, but it was pretty much impossible. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, to Amy, and then down front.
That's a terrible question.
Lexi's had some issues in the past in front of cameras and in front of reporters, and that was a real opportunity to right all those wrongs.
It was.
You know, sometimes in life you can laugh at yourself, and if you can't laugh at yourself after hitting the shank, I mean, there's nothing else you can do, Nick.
No.
You can't take it seriously.
If she'd
you
have
don't
done
hit too many of them. You just got to laugh at yourself when you hit a shank.
If she'd have done a Victor Hovland and said, I suck at chipping, I think everyone would have gone, fantastic.
That's great.
How good's this?
That is great.
How good. And she could have said, look, these are my demons. These are the issues I'm having. But she's not that type of personality to open herself up to the world. Whereas Victor Hovland, he did that. He said, look, I suck at chipping.
I suck.
That's
That's
words,
exactly what he said.
And I'm going to improve it.
That's right.
And he has.
And by the way, you couldn't have brought up two better names, Victor Hovland and Lexi, because what I saw during the week, now I don't know, I don't know who tweeted it out, but is it Joe Mayo? Is Victor Hovland's short game coach?
Short game, yep.
Now I've mentioned this guy's name before on this podcast, Gabriel Hjersted. I did a top 5 very early on, and Gabriel is my number 2 most amazing thing ever seen in golf. And that is because Gabriel Hjersted didn't win once on the US Tour. He won twice. And I can tell you, this kid couldn't hit the ball. He couldn't hit the ball. And he won twice on the US Tour. Such was his short game genius. Yeah. Now, Nick, you might have, you weren't there when Robert Allenby first came out. But when Robert Allenby first came out on tour, he wasn't the best hitter in the world like he ended up being. Like he won the total driving, and he had the stat that everybody wanted, which was closest from 200 to 225 yards. So he was a complete flusher. The best hitter of all time. But when he first came out, he was the best putter. He was the best putter anyone had ever seen. We're all looking at him going, this is ridiculous how good he is. And the short game stuff, he was a freak. Now, he ended up not being the best putter.
Well,
but
when I played with him, he held everything. In his short game, it looked as though he chunked a lot of things. You know, he kind of came in really steep, which didn't look great, but it seemed to work for him.
It worked a treat.
Yep.
I mean, his short game was elite. But so was Gabriel. And they were both young. You know, they were both 19 or 20 when they turned pro. They both came on the same time. And they used to have a short game competition most weeks, Gabriel and Robert Allenby. I saw one at Royal Melbourne. Now, if you've never been to Royal Melbourne, one, make sure you get there at some stage. But two, their putting green out the front is one of the best putting greens you'll ever see. It's got an 18-hole putting course, got the whole thing. I was doing my putting one morning, might have been a Tuesday or Wednesday morning or something, and these two started. I saw Gabriel Hjersted on that front putting green, hole an 80-footer. Now, it went over humps, bumps, the whole thing. He put his putter in the air. Robert Allenby was next to go. He held it on top of him.
No.
The two, I saw it with my own eyes. I'm telling you, it was a freak show.
Wow.
It was a freak show.
Yeah.
But Gabriel had him in chipping. If you ever got to play, and I got to play with Gabriel a fair bit.
I did too.
Did you?
Well, he and I, we went to a performance camp at the Australian Institute of Sport when we were 17. I was no good, but he was much better than me. He was a Swede, but he grew up here in Australia.
That's right. His parents came over, and he was a very good scorer. He could get his ball in the hole, and the way I remember him, that's the way I remember him actually chipping, because he had this funny head action. That's why he couldn't hit the ball. When he took it away, he had a real strange backswing action. And then he kind of chopped across it, and he just knew where it was going. He'd heel cuts all day, and his chipping and putting would do the rest. Anyway, he's been teaching people his chipping method for the last 15 years. Joe Mayo, Victor Hovland's coach, looked at it and said, maybe my guy should try this. Victor Hovland's been doing it. I think in the tweet I saw it on, he's been doing it for the last 3 or 4 months. Victor Hovland, when he won those last 2 weeks, or if you can call the handicap tournament the Tour Championship a win, but I guess we are. He won those last 2 weeks. He was either number 1 or number 2 in scrambling. Now, that is enormous.
That is.
Now, I showed you this technique. Now, if you haven't seen it, get onto our socials. It's going to be on there now. It's going to be on there right now.
Yep.
But what he does is he gets everybody to set up neutral, so no weight forward.
50-50.
50-50. He puts the grip in his groin, basically. Not in his groin, but lined up with the groin.
Yep.
And then what he does, when he takes it back, he says in this clip that he tries to look at the front of the ball. So his head moves miles forward as he's making a backswing. He keeps his head there, and the way he speaks, it's so... I mean, you got to listen to it. It's just so confident. It's golf coach 101. Say it like you're the most confident. This is the answer. And he does. He says it, the answer. So much so, I've been trying it. Of course I have. Of course I have.
Yep.
Not only have I been trying, I've been showing people it. And I'm telling you, I think it works. I think it works. And I think it works on our fairways more than any other fairways, Nick, because our cooch, when it's cut so short, it's the hardest grass to chip off.
I saw it, and I agree that it will work for a lot of people here in Australia where you get the firm grass and things like that. I think in the video he's chipping off a putting green as well. If you notice that, just so you could show that he's actually just brushing the grass, which is a really good practice drill, by the way. Chip off a putting green if your local greenkeeper lets you.
Hello, all golf course curators.
I'm not giving you permission.
Vent towards Nick O'Hearn.
Yes, exactly. But the thing I'm a little worried about it is, as you say, what he does, he tries to look at the front of the ball, so the head goes a long way forward. And then he just rotates through, which is good. But I think for a lot of people out there, what they're going to do is the head's going to come back to try and lift the ball again.
But that's good. I'm glad you're saying that.
So I'm a little worried about that.
That's your years of experience talking right there.
Okay.
So if you are trying it, make sure you video yourself. And by the way, the iPhone or whatever phone you've got, it's the most valuable tool you've got if you half know what you're doing, because you can see all these little bits and pieces. So if your head does go forward, what you want to do is you've got to see more of the front of the ball. So you've got to make sure that when you're actually hitting the ball, you're still looking at the front of the ball.
Yes.
And not the back of the ball again.
Because the natural instinct will be to reverse shift and go back and try and lift it, and then you chunk it or whatever. But I really like what he's done there, because it's going to get people to catch the ball first.
Yep.
And there'll be a little bit of a contact with the ground after the ball, which is what he talks about. I really like that.
Yeah, well, this is the reason I was so excited to show you,
Okay.
Nick, because you like to hit down sharply on the ball, as I did, as everyone did back in the 90s. That's how we were taught, folks. Because I don't think the grass that we've got at the moment was really around. There's a lot of winter grass. These days, the couch grass is cut so low that it's actually a tough grass. And if the leading edge gets caught, half an inch behind the ball, you look like an absolute fool. And then the other one is if you're using the bounce and you really drop kick it, you can really look like a fool also. It just goes right across the green. But when the ball sits on the ryegrass in America, for instance, or longer grass, wherever it might be, chipping's not a hard thing at all when the ball sits up on Kikuyu.
Kikuyu, that's
How easy is it to chip off Kikuyu? It's a piece of cake.
If you can't chip off Kikuyu, for everyone out there, sorry, but you do have some issues.
You've got the Lexis.
You do, but
you've got the Lexis.
Yeah, but anyway, just getting back to the Solheim Cup, it was a fantastic final day of singles, and I'll just go through some of the matches because I think this is worthwhile talking about. The opening match was Megan Kang and Lynn Grant, what a superstar she is.
I saw the first shots.
Whoa.
I thought she was getting 3-wood out. I was talking about could she drive the green, and when she went to 3-wood, I thought, I wonder where she's going.
Straight at it.
Straight over the back of the green.
Too much club.
Yeah,
it was actually a fun opening hole there.
She got rolled too, didn't she, Lynn
She
Grant?
did.
Yeah.
So she lost one down to Megan Can. Bit of a surprise there. The next match was a battle of former world number one amateurs. So Leona Maguire was the longest reigning world number one amateur until Rose Zhang came along, and then she took over.
So how many weeks at world number one did they have the amateurs? Like 500 between them?
It was a lot. I know that. I don't know. But
much.
Leona Maguire, she played beautifully. 5 under in that match, and she rolled a 4 and 3. So that was no problem. Danielle Kang, this was a tough one for Charlie Hull. Danielle Kang's a real fighter and had been playing well. Although Charlie Hull, she's a real fighter too, but she went down there 4 and 3. So Kang won that one. And at this point, it looked as though the US just had the slight edge going forward. Anna Norquist had a good win over Jennifer Kupcho. Sorry, didn't. And the thing about that match was the golf wasn't stellar. I think even par, and she won 2 and 1.
Yeah, okay.
So most of the matches they all played really good golf, except for a couple. Yeah. The one which scared me a little bit towards the end was Georgia Hall ended up halving her match with Andrea Lee. Now, Hall had a lead, and this was at a point where Europe needed a win here.
Yeah.
They needed a win. And on the 17th hole, Georgia Hall hit a beautiful shot into about 10 feet. Andrea Lee was just inside her at 8 feet.
Yeah.
They both missed, but Hall has a 3-footer coming back,
and
it was a horrible stroke.
Yeah.
Horrible stroke. She was 1 up at this time. So it went back to level, and they squared that match. And the look on Hall's face after that match, she just wanted to dig a hole and jump into it, basically.
There would have been tears at some stage.
It was tough. Cheyenne Knight tied with, was all square with, what's her name, Gemma Dryberg.
Yep.
Gave her a generous concession on the last, I thought. Dryberg had about a 3-footer coming back, and I thought, I would have made her putt that, I think, because at half a point, guess what?
Was it Jack Nicklaus, Tony Jacklin style generosity?
Maybe. Well, Knight had won 15 and 16. She'd been down the whole way, so maybe it was a thing of, well, geez, I just feel lucky to have squared this match. So I don't know if the captain would have been too pleased about that.
I just want to dig down about what these players experience playing a team event at that level. And you're the man to ask, was how many President's Cups did you get into?
I played 2.
So you tell me, what's it like being... where was your home game? Where was your home game?
Montreal, unfortunately,
okay,
so it's still in North America.
Okay, but you're playing home there. Tell us about your stomach on the first tee again. I know you've told it before, but there'll be people who haven't heard it. And just, when a game was there to be won, what you felt inside.
Well, the thing about team golf is so different because it's an individual sport, golf. So you can usually handle it when you're by yourself and you're playing and you go, well, if I screw up, that's fine. But in this case, you got 11 other teammates plus the captains and all the support staff and all the international community going, we want you to win here.
And there's never been as many people barracking for you.
Exactly.
There might be half a dozen normally barracking for you at a normal tournament. But if you're playing for the President's Cup, you've got 50 million people around the world barracking for you. So exponentially just goes ballistic for the support.
You ask any of the top tour pros out there and they will say to you, Ryder Cup pressure, President's Cup pressure, whatever, Solheim Cup pressure is completely different to individual tournament golf, and that's the most nervous anyone's ever been. They all say that, and I'm right in that boat, because I remember walking onto that first tee in Washington, D.C. in my first President's Cup, and I saw Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Presidents Bill Clinton and George Bush Sr., and I just thought, I'm a 33-year-old left-hander from Perth. What the hell am I doing here? You know, so that's a pressure that it comes along not very often, and it was a shaking knees day that day, and that wasn't much fun. But the team aspect and what you feel, the camaraderie with the players, is unlike anything you'll experience unless you do play a team sport at a very high level. And in golf, we don't get to do that very often, but you know, the joy you saw from the Europeans when they retained that cup down the end there, that was just something that is so special. Unfortunately, I played in 2 and President's Cups, and we lost both times.
Well,
the one in Washington, we came close. We could have won that one. But,
the only time we have ever won was at Royal Melbourne, 1997 or 1998. It was one of those. 98.
Yeah, 98. Yeah. It was one of those, amazing victories that everyone remember. But, just finishing up on the Solheim Cup, there was a few other matches which were very fascinating. Headwall, last 5 under her last 6 holes to win 2 up over Ali Ewing. Ewing unfortunately hit a horrible bunker shot on 18. You talk about bouncing the club into the sand. Ooh, that was pretty tough to watch. Yeah. Stark beat Corpuz, that was good. Vu defeated Sagstrom, but the highlight was really Carlota, and I think it's the highlight of her career. She's had an amazing career as a player. She hasn't won a major. That's the one thing off her resume. She's a very slow player, tough to watch in some regard. I remember she got disqualified, or she didn't sign her card about a month or two ago for slow play, so she didn't agree with that. But for her to hit that shot into 16, they were all square at this time with Corder, I think it was, who hit it about 8 feet. And Carlota hits this shot into about 2.5, 3 feet. Amazing on 16 to win that hole, and then on the next hole to stand up there and to pipe that iron into 3 feet after Pedersen basically said to her on 16, look, this is what you wanted. It's all on you now. And she said, yep, this is exactly what I want. I'm going to go take it. And she did.
And she did.
I mean, Spanish fans all over the world were just ole, 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 ole. It was brilliant.
No, it was beautiful. A Spanish woman doing that in Spain to make sure the cup stayed with Europe was enormous. Let's have a listen to the shot that won it.
Well, this is starting on a very aggressive line.
Oh, it's a wonderful shot. It's fantastic on home soil for Ciganda. And it's a magical moment for Carlota Ciganda. The Solheim Cup will remain in Europe.
So congratulations to Europe, well done. Can they do it again with the Ryder Cup this week? We'll find out soon. I can't wait, because even though it's in grand final weeks, the NRL and the AFL grand finals this week, the Ryder Cup does sometimes get lost. One here will not get lost on Talk Birdie to me. Hey, OCM, I want to talk about them. And if you don't know who OCM is, it is Ogilvy, Cocking and Mead. They've got their hands on Medinah, a really famous golf course, a very, very famous golf course, and the work they have done is just magnificent. I'm going to talk you through it next.
Like the podcast? Oh, maybe tell a friend. Drop them a text or share it on your socials. This is Talk Birdie to Me with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
I've just shown you the pictures of what OCM, Ogilvy, Cocking and Mead are doing over there at Medinah. What hole is it again? It's the number 4. It's the 4th hole. Mm-hmm. And what they've done, they've gone back and had a look at the history on the walls, and there's a picture of number 4 back in whenever it was. Probably, it looks like 1940s picture or 1950s picture. Open, bunkers, this beautiful green up on a hill. You flick across to the next one, you can't see anything, and also the bunker's gone. And it's just overgrown. And then you flick to the next picture and you see what they have done, and they have brought number 4 back to life. And what they've done, they've put the bunker in that should never have gone, and they've cut away some of the trees. Now, the reason I'm showing you this and the reason I'm hopefully making people aware, there have been some people on golf club committees in the last 100 years with the best intentions. And they love their golf course. They've got on the committee because they want to do the right thing. But what they do is they overplant. And for some reason, there was this real big push, I reckon, 30, 40 years ago, that planting 1,000 trees a year was a great thing to do. Sounds good in theory. By the way, so is communism. Sounds great in theory. It doesn't work.
Holy hell.
Right? It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Turn.
It doesn't work. But planting 1,000 trees, and normally it gets in between the tree line and the fairway, and then all of a sudden the golf course loses everything, all the design features that, when you design a golf course and there's not many trees there, you really use the land well. But all of a sudden when you block up those beautiful views with all the trees, it just doesn't look the same.
I totally agree with you there because, and the thing you're talking about with committees on golf clubs is when people do get elected or whatever, they want to leave their mark.
That's right.
They want to leave their mark on the golf course, and that's an issue. They don't have the bigger picture in mind down the track going, what is this really going to look like? And I've seen some horrible things on golf courses.
Horrible.
Little man-made ponds put in where you go, what the heck is that doing?
What is that?
Yeah, or they've taken out, a beautiful bunker, as in this case at Medinah. I've played Medinah at the PGA Championship back in 2006, I think it was.
How'd you go?
I missed the cut. No. It was a brutal golf course. Really, it was heavy, tree lines. Yeah. It's kind of in that picture that you showed me. It's nothing like what it's been restored to back with what OCM are doing. And funnily, I think Jeff Ogilvy played well that week too. So he knows the golf. Knows the golf course pretty well. There's a lot of history there. They had the Ryder Cup and everything. So they've had some of the biggest tournaments in world golf there, but they've done an amazing job. And all it does, as you said, just look at an old photo. What does it look like there? Yeah. Take out some of those trees. Those overhanging trees on the corner, they're just horrible.
They were horrifying. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. And by the way, I'll just go one step further. There'll be some tees around Australia where you can only use one side of the tee because trees are now overhanging. Golf club committees and every superintendent, can you just go and just either get rid of the tree or get rid of the branches that are in the way? Because what happens on that tee, Nick, you can tell me right now, there is a wear mark purely on one side because everybody is forced to hit from a 1 square metre block unless you've got a huge cut or a huge hook and you can take advantage of the good side. But you've just got to maintain. One of the great things about being on committee is that you have an opportunity to maintain the spirit in which that golf course was designed. And that should be your number one goal, to keep this place looking fantastic.
Well, it's all about having that long-term plan in place, and the people that come on, they have to understand what they're trying to achieve. And when you want to make changes, hire the experts. It's like our PGA local pros, right?
That's right.
You want to get a golf lesson? Go to a pro. You don't go to some person who just saw something on TV.
Look for the PGA badge on the front door. It's really important. You'll get the best advice.
Phone's just gone off, guys. Got a voicemail coming. Do you want to have a listen to it?
Yeah, let's go.
Please.
You have one new voicemail. New message.
Hey, Nick and Mark. It's Jamie from down in Tassie here. With the Ryder Cup coming up shortly, I just thought would I ask you guys who you would pick if we could have an all-Australian type team in a Ryder Cup kind of setup. All right, thanks, guys. Love the podcast. Keep it up.
Righto. So are we going back in history to make it interesting, or are we going current? I think we got to go back.
I think
in history.
We go back.
Yeah, I think we go back in history, Nick.
For
Good.
Sure.
Righto. Who's our? So we got to pick 12.
We got to pick 12.
The pens and notepads are out.
We've got to pick 12.
Okay. Well, I know who's the top of the list. Peter Thompson.
Tomo, number 1. Done.
Got to have the Shark on there.
Sharky's number 2.
Okay.
That's 2 very simple ones. Steve Elkington has got to be there.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did he win the Players' Championship? Did he win it once or twice in the PGA?
That's a good question. Have to look that up.
Adam Scott, you win the Masters, you're playing for Australia.
Very true.
Righto.
Who else we got? IBF. Got to put Finchy in there,
Yeah,
I think.
Finchy's got to be in there.
He's one of the best putters in the world. You need good putters on this format.
Wayne Grady.
Oh, yes.
He gets a Guernsey.
Grades.
He mightn't be up there at number 6 or 7,
Bulldog.
but he's definitely in there. Pete Payne Stewart. Payne Stewart turned up in the green and gold colours of an NFL team back in those days.
Oh, yeah.
Back in those days. So who was it? It must have been the Cheeseheads, or who are they?
Oh, yeah, the Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers.
That's right.
So he's turned up because Payne Stewart had a deal back then.
With the NFL.
With the NFL, and he would wear the colours of NFL teams.
And he wore
amazing deal.
And he wore the +4s too. That was his style.
So he's turned up on day 4. And he's got the green and gold on. And Wade Grady's just looking over there going, this has got to be my day. He's wearing my colours. Fantastic. So Grades is in.
Paz would be a great one.
Paz is in there. I think if you get into the top 10 all-time money winners on the PGA Tour, that's a big yes. And I've got 2, Allenby and Appleby.
Okay.
They both got into the top 10.
Okay, like that.
Or pretty close to it.
Yep. I have to agree with you there.
Okay.
We are going back in time here, so that's 9. We need 3 more.
3 more.
Well,
I think we need some. What about David Graham? Mate, David Graham won 2 majors. Excuse me, the PGA and the US Open.
What are we thinking? Yep.
Beat Ben Crenshaw in the playoff in that PGA. And then shot one of the greatest ever rounds in history at that US Open. He missed the first fairway by an inch and then hit every other fairway and every other green. Shot 3 under, something like that.
Yep.
4 under.
I'd say we've got to put Ogilvy in there, Jeff.
Jeff's
US
in
Open.
There. Yep, Jeff's
Great
in there.
match play. He won the world match play several times. He beat me, them.
Yep.
Son of a... Anyway.
And you know what? You get to number 16 in the world.
No.
You're getting in this team.
Yes.
You're in the team. You're in.
Well,
100%.
When it comes to the singles, we know who I'm playing.
You're in the team. Put yourself in there. Go and read them out. Tomo, Shark, Elkington, Scott, IBF Grades, Paz, Allenby, Appleby,
David
Graham, and Nick O'Hearn.
No, Ogilvy should not be in there.
Ogilvy's in there as well.
Ogilvy's in there as well.
Yeah,
yes.
Ogilvy's in there as well. Well done.
Sorry to the current crop of players like Minwoo Lee and Lucas Herbert.
And I'm going to put Von Nida as the captain.
Love it.
Norman Von Nida, captain of the Australian team.
Beautiful.
Right.
I'm sure we missed a bunch there, but and apologies. Yes, we'll sub them in.
If you want to leave a voicemail, please feel free to do it. Talkbirdie2me.com.au, just like whoever that guy was. Yep. Just like, hang on, who was?
I think it was Jay. Was it Jay?
Mate, we heard the voicemail one time. I can't remember.
Is it Jakey?
It was Jay, I thought.
Jay?
Hang on.
You have one new voicemail.
I love that.
New message.
Hey, Nick and Mark. It's Jamie from down in
Jamie.
Oh, Jamie. I didn't hear Jamie. Okay.
So if people want to leave a voicemail like good old Jamie did, great question, Jamie. In fact, that's the best question we've had on voicemail. That's the funnest question anyway. If you want to leave a question like Jamie did, how do they do it?
Really easy. Go to talkbirdie2me.com.au. There's a little button there that says click here to record a message for Nick and Mark, and you do it. So
that sounds reasonably easy. It is time for the Ping Global Results. Did you see what Minjie Lee did?
I did.
I only just saw it before.
I didn't see it. I heard about it. Tell me.
She got in a playoff, missed a 2.5 footer for the win.
Oh,
and the 2.5, it did not even hit the hole.
Oof.
I want to ask you about this.
That's tough.
She ended up losing the playoff.
Yep.
All right.
Korean LPGA.
That's it. She ended up losing the playoff. But what they did in Korea, I like. I like the silliness of it. Is that because you want to play the last hole in a playoff all the time, because that's where the grandstands are and that's where the corporates are and that's everything.
What did they do?
They moved the hole.
What?
So let's say the pin was back left.
Yep.
Right? So that's where the 72 holes were played. I think I didn't see where they put it out on 72, but they changed the hole for the playoff.
They cut a new hole.
And then when the first time it was after Minjie missed the putt, they had to go back. They came in and cut another hole.
Wow.
So they're not actually playing the same hole. They're playing the same hole, but not to the same hole.
That's fascinating.
I give them big points for trying something. It's all about, I don't mind you trying. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Fine.
Yeah.
But very good. Well done. I like that.
Something very different. Okay.
What else you got for me?
Okay, Ping Global Results. So we obviously gone through the Solheim Cup, which is named after Carsten Solheim, the Ping founder.
Who won it in France?
Rio Hisatsune.
No, not Japan. Who won in France?
Rio Hisatsune.
Are you kidding me?
21-year-old rookie. Remember, he finished second at the Australian PGA Championship here last year. Yeah, good on you.
He's a star.
So on the DP World Tour, French Open, he becomes the third Japanese winner on the DP World Tour. Can you guess the other two? This is a big
Japanese. All right.
Yes.
There's only two who have won twice on the European Tour. Okay, two other times. Not
2 other times that a Japanese player has won.
Okay. Do I have to go a long way back?
For one of them.
Sayo Aoki.
Yeah, he's an obvious choice. Yep,
Yes,
Aoki.
Yes. Jumbo didn't play over there.
No.
I'm going to say Ryo Ishikawa.
Close. Hideki.
Okay.
So anyway, Hisatsune becomes the 3rd Japanese winner. Our own Minwoo Lee was there, but finished well back in the field, tied for 64th. On Live Golf, Chicago was the big event.
Bryson.
Just finished. Bryson DeChambeau had a 1-shot win over Anraban Lahiri, and also Mark Leishman had a great final round.
Did he?
Leish, yeah, shot 65 in the final round to take home some big bickies there. The Crushers won.
The Crushers won.
I'm not sure what that means, but the Crushers won.
How about our boys, the Australian team?
Ripper was 7th. Jed Morgan, he got off to a flyer. He was leading after the first round, and he needs to play some good golf. Otherwise, he's not. Guess what? He's not coming back next season. But he finished tied 37th. He fell away for the remaining 3 rounds.
Probably still made $3 million. Well done.
He did okay. A great result on the Corn Ferry Tour for Curtis Luck, who they were playing at the
He's playing well, Curtis Luck.
Ohio State University Golf Club. I've played this golf course.
It's unbelievable.
The Scarlet Course. It is. It's. Do you know who it's designed by?
I bet it was Jack Nicklaus.
Alistair McKenzie.
Alistair McKenzie.
Honestly, it was. Yeah, it was.
Are you kidding me?
Amazing. Yeah,
that's where Jack went to school.
He's from that area. Yeah, exactly. But Curtis has actually won here before, and this is all part of the final series. See, there's one more week to go. All these players, they were playing for top 75 gets you into the Tour Championship, and then from that, the top 30 get cards on the PGA Tour. So Curtis Luck had a great final round. The course was playing really tough. He shot 66, moved up from about 20th to 2nd.
Wow.
He moves from 61 to 47 on the rankings. The other guys, Brett Druitt, Rain Gibson, and Dimmy, they're kind of sliding back as they go.
They were on the bubble too.
Well, Druitt and Gibson have been in the top 30 the whole season, basically. Now they're outside the top 30, so they're going to have a really good finish there.
And Dimmy, how the biceps looking? They're huge,
they are huge.
Biceps.
Unfortunately,
he looks magnificent, that boy.
Unfortunately, he missed the cut, but which is a tough one. On the Asian Tour, Travis Smythe had a really good result. Finished 2nd there in the Yangda TPC tournament in Chinese Taipei, and the winner, Pum Saksansin.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
And no wine.
Well, I would have got a hate mail if I had to say that name.
He had a 3-shot win. A couple other good results for the Aussies. Doug Klein, top 10, and Jack Thompson tied for 25th.
These Ping Global results actually are really taken off. They are. People love them.
Yes.
Not necessarily me, but people love them.
A couple more on the Champions Tour. They were playing at Pebble Beach and Spyglass. How's that for 2 golf courses you want to play?
Yeah, good.
Tong Chai JD, the Thai golfer, he defeated Justin Leonard in a playoff.
He's always up there.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah. Really nice guy too. Amongst the Australasians, Steve Alker tied 5th and Rob Pampling tied for 11th, the best. On the Epsom Tour, Robin Choi had a really good result, tied for 2nd. That gets her. She's getting closer to that card. There's only 2 events left on the Epsom Tour, the race for the card.
Come on.
She's currently around 13th on the money list, needs top 10 in that regard. So a lot to play for in the final events for all Australians around the world.
Righto, time for some feedback, Dan. What do you got for us?
Plenty of feedback this week. So last week you guys talked about you had a half-form top 5 and you asked for people to finish it off for you. So we're going to get to that later on, but we've got lots of people who've come in with top 5.
Oh, that was the hugs. The hugs.
So we'll get to that later on in the top 5. So a lot of feedback there.
Good.
Also, this week, some constructive criticism.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I like constructive criticism.
So whacks, in other words.
As long as it's about
No, it's not a whack at all, actually.
No?
It's constructive. That's good. So first of all, a couple of comments on your masterclass last week, Mark, where you were talking about how not to slice the ball. Smokey Dawson has said, your deck needs a polish.
Hey, my deck. Just leave my deck out of all conversations, please. It's the last thing my deck needs. I like my deck just the way it is.
Wasn't there a good New Zealand commercial about that?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, okay.
We won't talk about the deck again, except for Mark Holland, who said, don't apologise for your attire, Marco. Apologise for your deck. Any chance of some oil?
I did notice a lot of people having a crack at my deck.
Yeah, there's a couple there. We'll leave the rest of those ones.
Oh.
Also, you were talking the other day about, or last week, about poor behaviour from pros.
Yeah.
Chris has said, here's one you missed. Sergio dummy spit in the bunker, hitting the sand hard. Also, Rory throwing his iron into the lake.
Yeah, that was a good one. At Arnold Palmer's event. I reckon he got about 90 metres on that 3-iron. It was well and truly launched into that pond.
It's a hell of a throw.
Yeah, it was good.
Someone's pumping up your tyres here, Mark. This is a bloke called Marcus. Any relation?
No.
Okay.
No.
Love the podcast. Mark, thanks for the little chipping lesson in Victoria you gave me on the practice chipping area last week. I always thought my short game was reasonably good, but the lesson you gave me in being more connected in my chipping action has helped me become more consistent. I've also taken this principle with success into other parts of my game.
Love it.
Can you believe?
You get the head
Can I
tilt
tell you
going
how
too.
this? No, that was before that. I would have taught him that this week. What's his name again?
Marcus.
You're not going to believe this. I was playing at the Victoria Golf Club. You know when you walk from the 9th to the 10th hole. Anyway, I really needed to go to the loo, like desperately needed to go to the loo. So I've just walked in the trees. I'm sorry, ladies, but I just had a little pee.
That's
in
what
the
you do on a
trees,
golf
right?
course.
Anyway, so I've come out and there's a guy chipping there. He's looking at me and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, I hope I've done the wrong thing here. I've tried the hide. He goes, "Hey, love the podcast," right? And I'm feeling really guilty,
Yeah.
I'm feeling really guilty about what he's just seen me do. So I've walked over and gone, "How's your chipping?" And I've given him, because of my guilt, I've given him a chipping lesson anyway. He listens to the podcast, so that's great.
My father sent me a message about your tip last week about straightening out the fades, right? Remember with the grip and the turning the hands
grip.
over? Yeah, I'm going back. So he actually sent me a message saying, that actually worked. Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
That actually worked. Come on, he's your own dad, Nick. How do you help your dad out?
Well, he normally hits it just dead straight with a little draw.
Does
He
he?
obviously got
Okay.
the fades of late, but
Okay.
still playing well, though. He's still off a 9 handicap.
How old is he?
He is, is he off a 9 or an 8? He is 81, so he's got to shoot his age.
I don't care what he's off.
That's crazy.
At 81, you're still walking a golf course, and he's off single figures.
He's off single figures. Yeah, he's 9 handicap. He's got to shoot his age.
So how often does he shoot his age a year?
Oh, he does it fairly often.
It's
frightening.
I think, now I want to ask you.
That'd be my goal.
I think shooting your age is better than having a hole in one. That's what I think.
Well, there's a lot more skill involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
And you're still around.
Yeah, that's true.
You're still got to be here.
But what if you're playing the golf course and you're 113?
If you can shoot 113 and you're 113, that's better than a hole in one.
For sure.
Fair point.
Yep.
Bahama Golf Pro, who says, by the way, he's an Aussie playing golf in the Bahamas, so he lives there.
That's right.
Which is, that sounds like the life right there, doesn't it?
I follow him on Twitter. He's good.
Yeah. He said, question for you boys. With the Ryder Cup on, what are your thoughts on a regular Internationals v Europe match?
Here are my thoughts. And I have completely plagiarised this idea from Frank Nobilo.
Okay.
The greatest idea ever, and it will never happen. But it is the greatest idea ever. So what he said, Frank Nobilo, if we started again today at the Ryder Cup, you would have the Ryder Cup being the number one, but the President's Cup would be the qualifier for the Ryder Cup. So for instance, this year, like what we're about to see, America plays Europe. Let's say America beats Europe over there. Where are they playing? In Rome.
Italy.
In Rome. What would then happen? Europe drops back and plays us in the President's Cup.
I see.
We beat Europe next year in the President's Cup, the Internationals, and guess what? We then challenge America. In the Ryder Cup.
How good is that?
How good a system would that be? It'll never happen because the Americans won't let that happen. But that would be one of the greatest ever things for world golf.
So a promotion relegation type system.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It would be sensational, but it won't happen.
Finally, some constructive criticism. Now, this is from a bloke called, I'm going to give you some context about this guy because I had a look at his profile. Dr. John Oliver Dunn.
Right.
Now, he's a anaesthetist at Royal Alfred in Melbourne.
Hang on a second. You still get a doctor in front of you, just an anaesthetist? Are you kidding me?
Well,
Come on.
he's a specialist cardiac anaesthetist.
Okay, well, that's different.
I think they're the ones that keep you alive. So
at the Royal Melbourne Hospital as well. He's also a member of the MCC and Kingston Heath.
Yeah, okay.
So he knows his stuff.
He's a doctor.
Also says onophile. I don't know what that even means. But the point making...
The rumophile.
No, onophile.
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 Yeah,
What's that?
I'll look it up.
Okay.
Keep going.
You look it up. Anyway, here's what he said. He's talking about how your favourite guy from Texas Tech, Ludwig, who I have not said his surname for reasons that will become obvious.
Aberg.
He's saying Ludwig Aberg, which is
Yes.
what we're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying his name incorrectly. And he's linked us to a thing called SwedishMadeEasy.com.
Oh, nice.
The A sounds like the O in Thor. So Ludwig Aberg should be pronounced Ludwig Orberg, I think is what he's saying.
Okay,
Orberg.
so the reason he said that is
Ludwig
because
Orberg.
last week I said the guy announcing him to the tee got it wrong.
But he got
because
it right.
He said maybe he got it right. Well, hang on. I'm not. He might be a doctor, but I'm not sure he knows everything.
Well, he's an onophile, which is a connoisseur of wine, so I think he does know everything.
What I will do is I will call my friend Steve Long, who is the short game coach at Texas Tech, and I will find out what Ludwig calls himself.
Go to the source.
So I think
Aberg.
I think that Dr. John, is saying it's pronounced Ludwig Orberg.
Orberg.
Okay.
I think that's
like
what he's saying.
Torbjorn Olsen.
So can you clarify that next week?
Yep. I'll call Steve. Steve Long used to be a member of Kingsneath, by the way. So, John, I'm going to one of our guys.
Yeah,
I'm going to one of our guys.
That's it for the feedback, aside from the top 5 suggestions.
Okay, it's time for the top 5.
So last week, we
got 3.
Yeah, you guys had 3. Now, you were talking about the greatest hugs ever. And what
Why
were the
were
3?
we talking about hugs for? I can't remember.
Because Minwoo hugged Ryan Fox
That's
after
right.
winning the BMW PGA Championship.
That's right. So he got into number 5.
Yes.
And what were
Who
the other
else?
ones you mentioned? You guys mentioned another couple.
Craig Spence hugging Greg Norman.
Yes.
And there was one other.
Greg Norman hugging Nick Faldo at the Masters.
That's it. I've got another one, by the way. But
Okay.
I think we forgot Jack Nicklaus and Jack Nicklaus Jr. when Jack walked off the 18th at Augusta in 86.
Love it.
Well, looking at these suggestions, it's going to be a very hard one to narrow into a 5.
Okay, well, let's
need
work
one
this
more.
out.
Here's some of the suggestions. Rob has said, what about Tiger and Earl at the Masters?
Father-son one.
Yes.
That's a biggie.
Beautiful.
That's a biggie. I didn't mind his little boy Charlie when he won it recently. The last time Tiger won it, he gave Charlie a big hug, and that looked pretty special.
Brad has also agreed with Rob. He said 97 Masters, Tiger and Earl. Fair.
Yep.
Cameron has said, hey guys, fantastic podcast. Keep up the great work. Regarding the top 5 embraces in golf, I can't believe the Seve Faldo embrace after the Ryder Cup wasn't the first one mentioned. Truly emotional.
Well, it's funny. I saw that one. I thought it looked a bit awkward, to be honest. I thought, I didn't think it was.
I can't remember.
It was great because you'd never think that these two would ever hug.
Yeah. Not sure.
So it was good, but it was still an awkward looking hug. I'm just judging. I don't think Faldo's a hugger. just having a look at it.
Just not judging when it sounds like you just judged.
Okay, sorry.
Cameron also says, hey, by the way, Marco, thanks for suggesting the Seve doco. It's a great watch.
It is good. It's very good.
Wayne has said, what about when Craig Parry chipped in the 98 President's Cup, got a massive hug and a high five from Murayama?
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, we talked about that President's Cup earlier.
I think Murayama actually had no feet on the ground.
Jumped into his
arms.
arms.
He was hugging Parry and his feet weren't actually touching the ground. He was like a little kid on Paz.
On that regard, I remember Ricky Fowler winning the Players' Championship, and I think his girlfriend at the time just came a flying leap straight at him into his arms.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And the final one that someone has suggested is from Oliver Gribble, and Oliver has said, best hugs top 5 nominee, Payne Stewart hugging Phil on 18 at Pinehurst 99.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was good. He sort of held his face in his hands saying, you're going to be a father.
You're gonna be a dad.
Yeah.
So
I think he wanted to be US Open champ.
Yeah. So what's your top 5 going to be?
Okay, let's work through this. I think Jack and Jack Jr. have got to be in there.
They got to be in there. Yep.
I think Craig Spence
Norman.
and Norman have got to be in there because we have an Australian lean.
Norman Faldo.
Norman Faldo
what do you think?
has to be. Well, we've got an Australian lean here, so absolutely.
That Payne Stewart Phil one was pretty emotional.
It was.
Norman Faldo. Who else we got in there? Parry Murayama.
Yes.
Yep.
It sounds like you've knocked out the Seve Faldo one. What about Tiger and Earl?
I think Minwoo and Foxy have been knocked out.
Tiger and Earl.
And Tiger and Earl.
Yeah, it's got to be in there.
All right. So I've got Tiger and Earl, Parry Murayama, Norman Faldo, Australian lean, Craig Spence Norman, Australian lean. But I think the greatest ever is Jack and Jack Jr.
That was a good one.
At 86. That was
nothing like father and son.
In fact, I reckon that one started hugging in golf. That was the forerunner of great hugs in the world. It's time for the masterclass. Who's doing it this week?
I've got it.
Okay.
Yes. You did last week on the grip.
Yes.
It's changed my father's life, apparently.
That's
so
great.
well done.
I'm glad someone can help you, Mr. O'Hearn.
This one's about Lexi's chip shot in the Solheim Cup the shank shot basically off the side hill lie. But her action in general is pretty
bad,
horrifying to watch at times.
that
might be. Sorry to say it, but it's not great. And the knees and the head and everything moving.
That's what I was going to ask you. There'll be people out there who know they're bad chippers.
Yes.
And they'll be feeling stuff. What's the telltale signs that people feel when they've got the Lexis?
Yeah. The telltale signs are,
the Lexis.
Number one. Who came up with a new term? I like it. Got the Lexis. They take too long over the ball.
Yes.
Number one. They're staring at the ball for too long. I'm a big believer in looking up at your target, bringing your eyes back to the ball and reacting. There's number one for you. A little bit of it's in the setup. Now, her setup does look good. And look, you can talk about having your weight left or 50-50, whatever it is, but the key with it all is and if you watch people with their practice swings when they're having a chip shot, is they always look good.
Yep.
Because they're pretending as though there's no ball there, and what they're doing is they're actually swinging through the ball. So they're actually swinging out to their target. They're not worried about hitting at the ball. People who struggle, like Lexi does, is she swings at the ball. She doesn't swing through the ball, which then makes her knees dip, her head go backwards, and all of a sudden the momentum of the club head just doing the work and swinging through to the target is completely lost. So I'll do a bit of a video, post it on the socials about how to swing through the ball, a little drill with that as well. But to your point, I think a while back you were talking about connection going through. That's really important where the arms, the hips are all working together. We don't want too much knee action. That's a real key. Just more rotating the hips through the ball. The hands and the arms, I like to say, are along for the ride.
Yeah, I think that's great. I was told once, and I think this is what you're talking about, that there is no hit in putting and there's no hit in chipping. And what you're saying there, when you have the practice swings, it all seems easy. It's because you're not actually hit in fresh air.
Yep.
You're just letting the club flow through the hitting area, and then magically, if you do that, the ball will bounce off the club and you don't have to hit the ball.
Yeah, a little bit of that has to do with the rhythm as well. If you take it back slow, you tend to speed up on the way through, and then that's when that hit comes, as you're talking about, and all the momentum is lost.
Yeah.
Do you reckon with Lexi's press conference meltdown, it wasn't really a meltdown, it was a bit of a snap.
Yeah, snap. Press conference snap.
Is there a top five in that? Top five press conference snaps? Would there be enough?
Well, yeah, I think there would be.
There'd be stacks. Greg Norman might fill 3 of those spots. Well, I'll tell you, we could make this, why don't we make it a team effort again? Well, let's put it out in our socials. Press conference snaps that you can remember in golf. Pretty rare, but they'll be there. Help us out. And let's get this top 5 going ourselves.
There was a press conference snap yesterday with Eddie Jones from the Wallabies when they got smashed in the Rugby World Cup. So we're not going to talk about that. But before we go, I need to get your tips on the NRL and AFL Grand Final week.
Okay. Right. Well, I think Queensland are going to win one grand final, so let's hope it's the Broncos, because I want the mighty Magpies to win on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd love to see the Magpies win, but geez, the Panthers, what are they going for, a three-peat?
Three-peat.
Yeah, I think they're going to be too good.
So your Magpies Panthers?
Magpies Panthers for me.
Three-peat? That's a three-peat?
Yes.
Yep.
And your Magpies Broncos?
I want to give Queensland something, because you can't take what the Pies want to win. And by the way, the Gold Coast won the VFL Premiership.
They did. They beat Werribee.
They beat Werribee.
They could get the trifecta of the...
Oh, my God, they might get all 3.
Wow.
Yeah, they could, yeah.
Oh, well, fantastic. Right. I'll see you next week with the Ryder Cup special. See you, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen's podcast, Talk Birdie to Me. And if you're looking for some new clubs, whether you're a male or a female, Ping are the best in the business, and they'll help you play your best. Contact your local golf shop or professional, and they'll sort you out with a fitting. If you can, we'd love it if you could rate and review the podcast wherever you listen, and tell a friend about it. Word of mouth is the best recommendation. Talk Birdie to Me's executive producer is Dan Bradley at Kaizen Media, and sound design, Daryl Misson at loudzebra.com.